I've been thinking about what it actually takes to get someone to give up everything. Not like quit a job you hate or leave a bad relationship. More like sell your house, sign over your life saving, and stop talking to your kids. Move into a compound with strangers, stop speaking out loud, walking into a building with the windows nailed shut from the outside. What does it take to get a completely normal person to do that? Because here's the thing everyone gets wrong. These people weren't stupid. They weren't broken people. They were teachers, parents, nurses, regular people with regular lives who found something that felt true at the moment when nothing else did. And then someone took that feeling and used it to destroy them. Today we're doing two of these, and I picked these two specifically because almost nobody talks about them. One happened in the last 5 years, and most people still haven't heard the full story. The other one is technically the deadliest cult massacre in recorded human history, and it gets maybe a tenth of the coverage Jonestown does. No idea why. And oh, don't subscribe yet. Watch the whole thing first. If you still want to after this, then yeah, but wait till the end and let's go. Negative 48. The cult that outlived its own leader. If someone told you right now that you had access to hidden information, that you could see patterns in the world that literally nobody else could decode, that you were one of maybe a few thousand people who on Earth who can actually understand what was happening behind the curtain, would you close the app or would you keep reading? Because yes, that's the whole story we're going to be talking about today. November 2nd, 2021, Dallas, Texas. It's cold, it's raining, and there are hundreds of people stepping outside at Dealey Plaza, the spot where JFK got shot in 1963, holding Trump banners, chanting, completely drenched. They're not there for a memorial. They drove from California, flew from Florida, some even came from Montana. They packed bags, told their families to be back, and traveled across the entire country because a guy on Telegram told them something was going to happen. JFK Jr., who died in a plane crash back in 1999, was coming back from the dead. Tonight, right here, right now, in the rain. And when he did, he will reinstate Donald Trump as president, expose the secret cannibal running the world, and I'm going to need you to stay with me, but Trump would be crowned King of Kings. Oh, and Michael Jackson was going to be there, and Robin Williams as well. They waited for hours. JFK Jr. did not show up. Almost nobody left. The man who put them there was named Michael Protzman.
Of a QAnon offshoot group.
I want to be really careful here because a lot of coverage of this story framed him as just some regular guy who went down a rabbit hole and lost his mind. That is not the whole picture. Core records from Pierce Country, Washington shows that before any of this, before the cult, before Negative 48, before a single Telegram post, his wife had filed for a police report saying he had pinned her to a bed and strangled her, held her there for 2 minutes until she agreed to marriage counseling. When she tried to walk away, he physically blocked the hallway. She eventually escaped barefoot through the front door and walked to her neighbor's house to call 911. She told police she was terrified of his blind rage. This was years before he became a cult leader. His demolition company went under around 2020, and right around that same time, he found a new career. Online, he went by one name, Negative 48. His growth was so fast that researchers who have spent years tracking KAnon, people who did this professionally, said that they genuinely never heard of him. One of them pulled up the Telegram channel and just sat there. March 2021, 1,700 followers. 9 months later, December 2021, 100,000. And even QAnon, a community not exactly known for being picky, thought he had gone too far. A major QAnon influencer publicly called him super dangerous, quote unquote, and said he was making the whole movement look bad. Let that sink in. The people who thought JFK was secretly alive looked at Michael Prossman and said this guy is unhinged. So what was he actually selling? His thing was called Jimit, and pardon me if I pronounce it wrong, but gematria. Agent system assigns numbers to letters, has been around for thousands of years, and it has real historical roots. It's a legitimate thing, but what Prosman did with it was claiming he could decode hidden messages inside speeches, headlines, names, and dates. Messages predicting the futures, messages that only he could probably read. Here is a real example of his logic. JFK Jr.'s plane went down on July 16th, 1999. Prothman's interpretation of that date,
Michael Protzman.
And n plus 4 plus 8 plus 7.
6 could be 6 and 1. 61 is the red tie that Trump wears. 122 equals JFK Jr. alive. Read that again. That's not a theory. That's not even a bad theory. That's a man rearranging numbers until they say whatever he wanted them to say. And 100,000 people were treating it like gospel. But birth beneath all the number stuff was something much darker. Hardcore anti Semitic propaganda, Nazi revisionist content, Holocaust denial. He was also selling followers worth their Vietnamese currency, telling them it would make them millionaires when the global financial reset happened. And he specifically targeted people who were already struggling, going through divorces, financial crisis, grief, people who needed something to hold on to. He knew exactly who to look for. So, going back to Dallas, JFK doesn't show. So, Prosman takes everyone to a Rolling Stone concert. Followers came back saying Michael Jackson had been there, in disguise, at a Stone show. One woman announced on a group call that the spiritual energy of the event had physically altered her menstrual cycle. Like, what does that even mean? Another said publicly, I think Dallas was a great success, and they just didn't go home. A core group set up in the Hyatt Hotel conference room. They aimed the quote unquote the arc. Thanksgiving passed. Christmas passed. They were still there. Postman was controlling what they ate, when they went outside, when they were allowed to look up and down. He was making them drink hydrogen peroxide to ward off COVID. Not metaphorically, actually, actual hydrogen peroxide, the stuff that causes internal chemical burns. He told them it was medicine and they drank it. One woman's family told reporters that she had handed over $200,000, left her children at home, stopped returning calls. Her sister said, and I'm going to quote this directly because nothing I could write will do it justice. Quote unquote, she left her children for this and doesn't even care. She's missing birthdays and holidays. She truly believes all this is real and we are the crazy ones and trying to get her home. End quote. $200,000. Her kids gone, and members of the group around the same time started posting Jonestown memes, joking about drinking the Kool-Aid. From inside the group, if you don't know what Jonestown was, over 900 people died there. Jones forced his followers to drink cyanide. He started with the children. They were posting that as a joke. Researchers tracking the group said it was one of the most alarming things they'd seen. Prosman then died in June 2023 in a dirt bike accident in Minnesota. He was 60, but here's the thing nobody talked about enough. Before he died, he had been slowly introducing his followers to a new figure. Someone he's been featuring on all his live chats for over a year, positioning her as a leader within the movement. Her name, or better yet, her Telegram name was Tiny Teflon. He was just 13 years old, a man with a documented history of domestic violence, groomed a child to take over his cult, and when he died, she did. She became the new face of Negative 48 to tens of thousands of followers. His actual followers, by the way, refused to accept that he was dead. Channel admin pulled all posts about it pending quote unquote verification. One follower said only the evil part of him had died, and the good part, which was secretly JFK, had survived. He had built something so complete that his own death couldn't break it. 1,700 followers to 100,000 followers in 9 months. A woman who lost 200,000 left her kids behind. Hydrogen peroxide as medicine. Jonestown jokes. A 13-year-old handing the keys to the whole thing. Some of these people are still in it right now, and there's nothing we can do about it. But all right, let's move on to the next one. Movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God. Now, most people can name five cults off the top of their head: Jonestown's, Heaven's Gate, Manson, maybe the Branch Davidsons if they've seen enough Netflix. But what almost nobody can name is the deadliest cult massacre and recorded human history. And I think the reason nobody talks about it is because of where it happened. Because if this exact story had taken place in America, the same number of dead, the same level of planning, the same leaders who were never caught, it would be a 10-part HBO series, three documentaries, and a Dateline episode every year for the next 2 decades. Instead, most people have never heard the name, and forgive me if it's pronounced wrong, Credonia Merendi. Now let's fix that. Uganda, 1989. The country had just come back through decades of absolute devastation. Idi Amin, civil war, and then AIDS. Uganda had one of the highest infection rates of the planet. People were watching their neighbors die, their families collapse, their communities disappear. The Catholic Church, which most of the country belonged to, was hemorrhaging trust over scandal after scandal. People were scared. People were desperate. and people were looking for something that made sense of it all. That's the room Khadija Merendi walked into. Merendi had been a barmaid, a pure banana beer, by some counts a worker. She was nobody until the moment she claimed the Virgin Mary had appeared to her in a cave and given her a message for humanity. Why was she in the cave in the first place? Um, and the message was simple: the world is ending. December 31st, 1999, and the only way to survive is to follow the Ten Commandments. Perfectly, no exceptions. She found a wealthy, politically connected man named Joseph Kib- Kibwetere, who also claimed to have visions of the Virgin, and told him that Mary had said specifically that a man named Joseph Kibwetere was going to help her save the world. He believed her immediately, sold his properties, handed over his assets, and became the face of the movement, while Merendi ran everything behind the scenes. Her nickname inside the group was quote unquote the programmer. The movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God grew to nearly 5,000 members across Uganda. And if you want to understand how, you first have to understand what daily life was inside it and what it actually looked like, because it wasn't subtle. Members weren't allowed to speak, not whispering, not quietly, not at all. Communication was conducted entirely in sign language because Merendi said talking risks breaking the ninth commandment. I don't know why I said ninth commandment. Thou shalt not bear false witness. One wrong word and you were spiritually contaminated. So they lived in silence. Thousands of people, silent farms, silent meals, silent prayers. Soap was banned even as a sinful luxury. Sex was banned, food was rationed. You had one meal on Friday, one meal on Monday. And members had to sell everything they owned when they joined, whether that be homes, land, livestock, and handed it all to the church. And if you stepped out of line, Merendi beat people. Personally, she once beat Teddy's wife for using soap. She reportedly told followers on one occasion that the Virgin Mary had instructed her that all children under 5 needed to be sacrificed immediately. They flogged priests with PhDs for writing theoretical justifications for all of it. Former Catholic clergy were explaining in academic language why this even made sense, and it worked. Because when someone with credentials tells you that God said this, in the middle of a country where God feels like the only stable thing left, you listen. Former members filled out forms, actual printed forms, asking them to commit to martyrdom and to confirm in writing that they were willing to die for the movement. One former member said yes, said he was ready to die. He left in 1994 though, and he had no idea how lucky that was. Now, January 1st, 2000, the world doesn't end, and when that happens, the whole thing starts to collapse. Members had given up everything, their lands, their money, their homes, all of it gone, because the world was supposed to end and none of it would matter. But the world didn't end, and now they had nothing, and they wanted answers. People started demanding their money back. Merendi picked a new date, March 17th, 2000. She announced there would be a celebration, a type of party, come together, and that the end is still coming. Just trust the vision. Alright, guys, it's a little suspicious. On March 15, one of her lieutenants, a defrocked priest named Dominic, was seen buying about 50 liters of sulfuric acid. Nobody stopped him. And on March 17, 2000, in Uganda, the remaining members, hundreds of them, mostly women and children, are told to gather at the church. The building they called the Ark. Three whole bulls roasting, 70 crates of Coca Cola, music. It feels like a celebration. The windows and doors have been boarded shut from the outside with nails. A survivor later recalled passing a fellow member on the way out of the compound. The man carrying a hammer and nails. He is believed to be the one who sealed the building. Minutes after everyone was inside, neighbors heard an explosion. The church burned so fast and so completely that the smell covered the entire surrounding area for days. A neighbor said people couldn't eat meat for months afterwards. 530 people died in that fire, and then the police started digging. Mass graves at Cachibabo's property, bodies at a farm belonging to another leader, 6 bodies sealed inside a latrine at the compound, hundreds of people who had been poisoned, strangled, stabbed, killed weeks before the fire and the months leading up to it. Half of all the bodies recovered were children. The final death toll? 924 confirmed. Some estimates put the real number between 2 and 3,000. More dead than Jonestown. The largest cult massacre in history, and here's the part that should make your skin crawl. Credonia Merende was not among the bodies. Neither was Joseph Kipwetere, neither was Katari Pabo. The five principal leaders of the movement were simply gone. Ugandan police issued international warrants, and in 2014 there were reports Kipwetere might be hiding in Malawi. As of right now, in 2026, not one person has been prosecuted for any of it. The land where the church stood was absorbed into a tea plantation. Out of 924 people, half of them being children and women, there's no one who was ever caught for this. And as you guys can see, this video took a lot longer than I expected, so different clothes on, but just to end it off, two cults, two completely different countries, completely different beliefs, completely different leaders, but same result. Someone found people at their lowest, gave them something to hold on to, and then used that to take everything from them. And the thing I keep coming back to, the thing I genuinely cannot shake, is that Merendi's still out there right now as you're watching this. Nobody caught her, nobody prosecuted her. She killed nearly 1,000 people, half of them being children, and she just walked away. Doesn't sit right with me. But before I go, guys, I appreciate it. 200 views on my last video on Tinder criminals. I know that's not a lot to most people, but I genuinely think that means a lot to me. So thank you. If you haven't seen that one, it's up on the channel. Go check it out after this. And look, if you made it this far, you already know if it was worth your time. Subscribe if it was, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.